Okay, if we can, had a couple people ask me about those tricks that I did, so I'm going to go over that with everybody. Alrighty, so I didn't want to spend a lot of time on it, but there's a lot of interest in it, so I'm going to show you those few things that I did. So first of all, to get this little, and by the way, I'm recording this now, and at the end I'll show you how to go find out where this is being recorded, so you'll be able to go over this in slow motion. But so how to get these little character viewer up here is, go to your Apple logo, System Preferences, and go to Keyboard, click on Keyboard, and on the left-hand side, right down here, you'll say Show Keyboard and Character Viewer, and if I deselect it, it goes away, and it's a flag because I'm using the US keyboard, but if I put it back up here, so I want that to show up there, all right? So by that being up there, I can go in here and show character, and this is real good if you want to put arrows in, for instance. So if I want to put this arrow in, I can drag that arrow right to there. Well, it doesn't really work in this, but in a text document, or if I double click on it, it will come up. Oh, sorry. There we go. I was looking past it. I didn't even see that. So again, that's character viewer. And you have different fonts, different punctuations, currency symbols, etc. And you can double click on these and it'll insert it wherever you're doing it. Let's fire up a quick little text edit document. Oh, let's see, what screen did it do it on? So if I go back to character viewer and I just double click. Now these are just regular old fonts, so I can blow these up and they render perfectly because they're a font. That's all they are. That was in character viewer. And the other one was the keyboard viewer. And the keyboard viewer is, you can actually type from this. If you lose your keyboard and you only have a mouse, you can click here and you can type from there. But if I hold down the modifier keys, it shows me what happens when I hold a certain key. Okay? And combination of keys. I'm sorry? No, I don't think so. You can zoom your screen is about it, but it needs to be innocuous because it really kind of the reason is because it floats over everything when it's up. So if I have text edit on, you notice how text edit doesn't come over the top of it. It just floats, and so it's kind of like the iTunes one. The other one is, I want to go into my iPhone, and we saw how to do reader. But what I want to do is I want to turn on that ability for it to speak text. On your Mac, you just highlight it and secondary click and come to speech. But on your iOS device, you need to turn on, you go to Settings. And in Settings, go to General, Accessibility. And you say Speak Selection. In other words, you're going to highlight it, which is selecting something. So you turn speech selection on, and then you can do, the other nice thing is you can adjust the speed with which you want it to speak, and then here is you can tell it what voices you want to hear in your head. So you can change to the different voices. I'm sorry? Let's go back. So Settings, General, Accessibility, and then turn Speak Selection on. Don't do Speak Auto Text. Speech speak selection on, and we'll show you how that works again. So I'll go to a website, and so if I click and hold, go into Reader, click and hold. This is about the sapphire crystal thing, which I'll talk about a little bit. So I just go down here, and now I have an option that says Speak. And so if I hit Speak,
tripled in the past year, Dan Gallagher Ripper.
Okay, but if you do a lot of it, it goes on for a long time, and you'll kind of get tired of it. But it's a great way to do articles and different things like that. So, any questions on that and Reader and Speak Text? All right. Okay, good. All right, moving on. Let's see here. We can get that off of my screen. So it was, the iPhone was introduced on my birthday in 2007, January 9th. And that was a pretty meaningful time. I mean, it was one of my wasn't my original birth date, but I mean, it was really an incredible time for Apple. And the phone was introduced on June 29th of 2007. Excuse me, it was for sale then. And, you know, you look at the rest is history on that and what they've done. It's pretty amazing. I think this is the original iPhone. And so much of what it does, it was built into it, the iPhone still does today. The screen on this iPhone, diagonally, is how they measure screens, was 3.7 inches. And, you know, they packed a lot in there with that, and believe me, that was the hardest thing for all these Apple engineers. And the idea is that Apple, when they were doing all this testing, because remember, they were the first one to come out with a true touch capacitive discharge screen, because there were Trios and Blackberries and everything, and they had styluses or these plastic cheesy keyboards and things. But when Apple designed it, they said, I have very short thumbs, so it doesn't work for me, but you can span the width of the phone, is what was the limiting factor on the width of the iPhone when they worked with this, was what people were one-handing their phones at that time. So 3.7 inches, and then what they did is they came out with the 5S, and the 5 actually. So up until the 4 and the 4S, it was still 3.7 inches. Then the diagonal measurement went to 4 inches. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it added a whole nother row of icons, and it was still the same width because they were holding true to this. In the meantime, many of the other phone companies were coming out with bigger and bigger phones, and soon they looked like Michael Douglas on Wall Street with the old Motorola, you know, the brick up to his ear. But, and again, it's more prevalent in Europe and in Asia, the bigger phones. Apple had indicated, now everything from here is going to be rumor. Pretty decent rumors that we're going to get a 4.7 inch. Now, the indications are that the bezel will be even smaller than what's here. In fact, we might even get it almost all the way to the edge. Because one way to increase the screen size without increasing the footprint of the phone very much would be to shrink the bezel, or this space on the side here, which the iPad Air has a much smaller bezel than the iPad 4 did. And it's got the same size screen, but it's in a little bit smaller package. So, the pretty good rumor on this one is there's a great video on the internet of, in the meantime, Apple has used what's called Gorilla Glass. Now, Gorilla Glass, it's an interesting story. On the original iPhone, they were going to put a plastic screen on it. And up until the last minute, Steve Jobs just wasn't really happy with a plastic screen because it was not going to feel good, and it just wouldn't slide across, and they scratched so bad. Back then, all the phones had screens on them, and you'd put these plastic protectors over them, and it still would just not work very well at all. So Apple, or somebody in Apple, and Steve Jobs really spearheaded it, went to Corning. I believe Corning's back in New York. Corning Glass Company. Corning had a project that they had shelved years ago that was called Gorilla Glass. Well, somehow in the channels, Apple found out about this and approached Corning and said, you know, this might be great for what we're doing. So Apple made a commitment to have them rekindle that project and manufacture Gorilla Glass, which is really a kind of combination glass plastic. But up to this point, it's been very scratch resistant, but it does break. And then the amazing thing is that Apple didn't say, okay, well, you can't let anybody else use it, because now every phone on the market has Gorilla Glass. Even some TVs have come out with Gorilla Glass now. So it was a huge, huge uptick for Corning because they got this. They're on the third version of Gorilla Glass at this point. Well, Apple is always looking for the next thing. If people have a high-end watch, higher-end watches have a crystal, and it's a sapphire crystal. Sapphire crystals are just under diamonds and zirconium as far as hardness down there. They're very, very, very hard. But they're difficult to manufacture, expensive to manufacture, and they can't be done in big sheets very easily. So Apple, in its wisdom, decided to approach this company that's one of the bigger sapphire makers, and it appears that the iPhone 6 4.7 inch will have a sapphire crystal on it. Now, that's a guy on the internet, Marquez Brownlee is his name. Great guy. He has this video of, he sourced this part. Somehow he got it. It was smuggled out of China. I mean, this thing, it's amazing how it goes. But he takes that and he tries to bend it and flex it. He takes a knife to it. He takes keys to it. It won't scratch. It won't break. In the video, the only thing that broke it is they threw it down on asphalt and and it was not uneven asphalt, so they had a 4-ton truck run over it, and that finally cracked the darn thing. So if they do sapphire, that would be something really amazing. And the indication is that sapphire may be for iWatch or maybe for some other things. So the sapphire, if they do it, can be made fairly thin and very resistant. And it might be the first time where I don't necessarily have to put a screen protector on mine. I've always been, I always resell my devices, so I try to keep them perfect and pristine. And I might not have to with this if they do sapphire. The rumors go back and forth. Well, they're not going to produce enough by then. Then they're going to produce enough. Well, this company in Mesa, Arizona was producing some of it, and they have all this machinery. Apple went in and said, look, we'll buy all this machinery, and you produce the sapphire for us. And the way Apple does this stuff in speed is pretty amazing. Does anyone here have an iPhone 5S? You have sapphire on your phone already, which is where the fingerprint reader is. That's sapphire crystal itself. And I think part of that is Apple does this ahead of time. They always test things. This little liquid metal thing they did before was a little SIM ejector tool. It's just, they just do that to make sure it'll work, but this has the sapphire crystal in it. So and it makes sense if you start doing a wearable device, whether it's a watch or something else, because of the scratch resistance. But the other thing is it can be formed, and that puts in all new possibilities too. The Corning thing was they have to have it made, it's shipped over there, and just does a lot of stuff, but I'm pretty excited about it. Now, the other rumor, and it's not quite as strong, but it sounds like it's more and more going to come to fruition, if not right away, a little bit later. Now, why does Apple not pre-announce that they're coming out with the iPhone 6? Because they don't want to get into the Osborne effect, it's called. When Apple introduced the iPhone, they told us about it 6 months before it came out because they weren't competing against themselves. They introduced the iPad 4 months or so before it was introduced. They told it before it was coming out because they didn't have to compete against themselves. But subsequent models, they don't really telegraph it because they don't want to hurt sales of the current device. That's called the Osborne effect. The Osborne Computer Company was going to come out with this great next computer that was going to be all end all, and they announced it, and they're at one of the trade shows, and the sales of their current computer stopped and they didn't have enough money to make the higher end computer they were going to do. So not that Apple can't afford it, they just don't want these other, they don't want Samsung to have to really get, they want to give them as much challenge to copy it a little quicker when they need to. So anyway, the 5.5 inch is, now there's two different diagrams of this. One is the icons are the same size, there's just more of them. Personally, I don't think that helps me because I want bigger text. So it's 5.5 inches corner to corner. Now these are artist rendering. These are not anything that's been, there's been nothing out there about that. There's been a few parts leak, there's battery leaking. The other thing is when you go with a bigger phone, the big screen uses more battery. But there's also the ability to have a bigger battery. Just like the iPad mini gets the same battery life as the iPad Air because the iPad Air is a little bigger and has a bigger battery. So it's all relative to the screen versus the size of the battery you can put into it. This originally, I thought the 4.7 inch is what I'd probably go for. The more I think about it, it's the 5.5. So it's hard to decide. Here's another artist rendering of the three sizes. Now these are the little antenna areas because where this is glass on the back, this is aluminum here with glass up here. These are aluminum with insets, and the other interesting thing, there's a bezel around the camera. And this is a pretty solid rumor that there's a little ring coming out from the camera, so we may even get better lenses than we already have on the current camera, and the current camera is fantastic. What's the best camera in the world? The one you have with you, and if it starts to improve like this, man, that's the better camera is going to be with me all the time. There's talk of some optical image stabilization in the new cameras. So it's interesting. Now the 5S has two flashes right here, which is a whitish and a yellowish flash, and what it determines is the white balance of here before it does the flash. Indications are the new one may have 4 small flashes inside that. Just so you know, this little dot here, this little dot here, this little dot here is a ambient noise sensor. In other words, if I want to use Siri in the microphone on your phone is on the bottom here, but if I want to use Siri in a very loud environment, the ambient, or it's not ambient, the noise canceling microphone picks up the noise in the room because it's heard on both mics. And then when I speak into this mic, it says, oh, that's what I really want to hear, and it cancels out everything else. So that's why you have a second microphone on the iPads and on the iPhones, and it really does a pretty good job. But that's what that little dot is right there. So that's one rendering of it. Here's kind of a size comparison. Small, bigger, and big. I don't know how true that is. Again, these are all based on, there's been some drawings, and the big thing is that, you know, these people that make all the cases and everything else, they have to ramp this up so when, on opening weekend, when 25 million iPhones get sold, they have to have product out there to support it. And Apple doesn't help a lot of them too much, but they keep a pretty good lid on it. So, and really more about this is how can you plan for what's coming up. So this is another slide that really illustrates the sizing. The iPhone 4S with the 3.7-inch screen, the iPhone 5S with the 4-inch, 4.7, and 5.5. So you kind of see the gradations of scale. To me, the hardest decision is between which one to get. It's not whether I'm going to get one, because I have to get one because of you guys. I mean, that's the only reason I do that. So thank you for that. You know. So show of hands, who currently has an, and we're talking about not that you have one left. It's currently your daily driver is an iPhone 3 or 3GS. Okay, Mr. Gwine. Okay. Well, yeah, you're waiting for us to have one in the drawing, and then okay, I got it. So that won't be supported with the new iOS 8, which is coming out for free. Who here has an iPhone 4? Not the 4S, but the 4. Okay. So the 4S, the 4 won't be supported with iOS 8 either, and it doesn't have Siri. And Siri's my girlfriend, and you all really should use her because she's amazing. iPhone 4S? What? Do you have a 4S? Yeah, maybe check in settings. I'll check it for you. Be happy to. And I'll turn it into the male voice for him. So it won't. 5 and 5Ss. So the 4S and newer will all support iOS 8. And iOS 8 is going to be a pretty substantial update to iOS 7. And there's a lot of features that happen behind the scenes. So how many here are going to upgrade to a new phone come September 9th when it's going to get introduced? Okay? So those of you might want to see this. Now, I'm not pimping for Gazelle.com. I could do a referral link and all that, but I don't do that. There's other sites that do it. Radio Shack, if they're still alive. Other places will go. No, but they'll go ahead and you can turn your phones in now. But with Gazelle, this is what happens how many days out before a release. So the event is on the 9th. Gazelle has a deal now where you can go to Gazelle.com. You put in your iPhone model, what condition it's in, what carrier it's on, etc., and they will estimate the price. And if you lock it in now, they'll give you up till October 10th, I believe it is, to send it in to them. But what happens here is, as you get, because this is a supply and demand curve. This is capitalism 101. As more and more people sign up to give them more phones, the price is going to drop. So you want to lock this in as soon as you can so you can get a better value up here. Now, let's talk about values. We had a few people with the iPhone 4, 16 gigabyte from from AT&T. Your iPhone 4, I'm sorry, it's only worth $60, and if you're off contract, if you're on a 4, you're probably off contract. AT&T will unlock it for free, so this reflects that bonus on it. At this price, it's almost better to keep it around as an iPod Touch around your house. You can upgrade to a new phone. You can keep this as a loaner. You can put your SIM in this, and when you go to the beach and do that if you want, or you can unlock this and use it internationally if you're on an AT&T. But that's the 4, so around $60. That's what it's worth today. If you have a 4S, it's worth $100, and that's with the $30 unlock bonus. That's the 4S. Are we hitting home with people here yet? That's half of the upgrade price right there. And these are all based on 16 gigabyte phones. So here we have the 5, unlocked, locked. One thing you have to do before you give your phone away, if you're running iOS 7, before you either turn it in or if you give it off to somebody else or sell it to somebody. No, a lot of people are still locked in a contract, but their phone fell off the roof or something. You have to go into Find My iPhone and turn Find My iPhone off and put in your Apple ID. Because Apple has built in a kill switch that makes it so if people steal your phone or pick it up on the street, they can't activate it. They can't do anything with it. It's as dead as a brick unless they have the password to your Apple ID. So it's real good about that. So this is looking pretty good now. We've got almost the price of your new phone completely covered if you're going to go with a 2-year contract on one of the carriers. And if you happen to have an iPhone 5S, I don't know why you'd want to turn it in, but if you did, this is the same phone you paid $199 for, or sometimes recently it's been $99. But you committed to a 2-year contract with AT&T, and that's why this is worth so much. People want to buy it outside of a contract. We're going to talk about contracts in a minute. Okay, so everybody got that? Did you kind of find your sweet spot? Gazelle.com, the way it works is you go in, you lock in your price. Now, when I first did this, I locked in my price, and I go, but I feel sorry for them. I don't want them to ship a box to me and all this other stuff. I may not want to do it. I'll probably sell it to somebody. No, they want you to lock it in. They want to send you a box. They send you a box. I always take pictures of my phone with my new phone, the serial number, what shape it's in, put it in the box, send it off to them, and they send you a check, or you can get 5% more if you get an Amazon credit. And they've been pretty good, very reputable. Be honest about what shape your phone's in. Indications are sometimes they'll maybe give you a little more than you say, or if it's a little scratched up and you fibbed a little, they'll give you a little less. All right, any questions on Gazelle? Works out, go ahead.
So how do you clear your phone and pull the SIM out?
Great question. So no, you don't worry about pulling out the SIM. The SIM's useless, but you can pull it out. But if you go to your phone, you just go to, I thought I was on mute. You just go into Settings, and don't do it now. Settings, General, and at the very bottom it says Reset. And when you go to Reset, you say erase all contents and settings. It'll be just like it left the showroom floor. Okay?
What about a
Protective screen and stuff? You know, I've had one on since day one. I'll ship it with it sometimes, or if it's a little messed up, I'll take it off, really clean it up, and put it in there like that. Again, to be honest, you can get more money than this if you sell it to somebody you know, so you can always try that routine. I don't recommend Craigslist, so we'll talk about that in a second. Go ahead.
If you're selling it to Gazelle, and your phone is in a multi-juice pack, what fit to do with?
I'd take it, his question was if it's in a Mophie juice pack, take it out of the Mophie juice pack and then offer it here at the meeting to somebody that still has the previous model. What phone do you have? So you got the 5S, so it's got a lightning connector on it. There's a lot of people that still have 5Ss. The 5Ss are probably going to drop in price dramatically when the 4.7 or the 6 comes out, the indication is. So, and it's still a good phone, so. All right, and don't forget, if you're in contract, you may not be upgrade eligible, but contracts are changing dramatically, and we're going to talk about that a little bit because they can get really, what's going on with contracts? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. I wouldn't, because they won't give you any bonus for it, and again, there might be somebody that wants it or something, but you get no extra for it.
Ken?
Hi.
I just got a 5S at Sam's Club for $27 in a 2-year contract.
He just got at Sam's Club for $57, you said?
No, I paid more than that.
But you had tax. You paid tax too.
No.
Well, anyway, there's some deals out there on 5Ss. The 5S is still a great phone. It has a very competent, very good processor. The 5S is distinctly better than the 5, which is distinctly better than the 4S. Here's the deal with some of the places you go to buy the phones. I mean, a contract is something you may not want to do, and we're going to talk about that in a minute when we talk about this stuff, the plans. But Sam's Club, Walmart, and I think the Costco kiosks only charge you on they only charge you tax on the subsidized price. I don't know how they do it, but in California, they have to charge you tax on the full price of the device, but somehow they're not doing that. Don't go tell on them, okay? I don't think it's anything underhanded because those people are watched pretty close. So, mobile plans, what do we know? Well, you know, the question is which iPhone size and storage? So we've got all this dilemma. What carrier? What color? What size? How much storage inside it? You know, it's really, you have to look at what your use is. They come in 16 gigabytes, 32 gigabytes, 64 gigabytes, and then there's even I think a 128 gigabyte. And that's the internal storage. If you keep a lot of photos, if you keep a lot of videos, you need a lot of storage. Remember now, more and more of our storage is going up to the cloud, and especially when we come to iCloud Drive, that's going to be a lot better for us. But remember, getting things up to the cloud and down from the cloud, use your data on your cell phone plan. So that can be overriding also. Like if you use Maps all the time, that could use not a lot, but it uses a decent amount of data. So there's other programs that download the map ahead of time. So you really have to look at it and make a good choice when you do it, because I always tell people, don't think about what you need now, think about what you're going to need 2 years from now. Because the iPhone is really a 2-year cycle. We had the 3 came out, the 3G next year. The 4 came out, the 4S next year. The 5 came out, the 5S. So the 6 will come out, and what do you think it's going to be after that? The 6S maybe. So it's pretty much a 2-year cycle, and this is the changing year. All right? So you have to really nail down. I don't know till I go see it, but I think I'm going to go 5.5 inch, but I just don't know. And believe me, I'm going to be in paralysis trying to figure this out if I can't get more firm on what it is. What does unlocked mean? So we talked about earlier, if you're on AT&T or one of the other carriers, most carriers, when you have a 2-year contract, they lock you They lock the phone to only be used on that carrier. Once you've completed your contract, they have to be able to unlock your phone so you can use it on other carriers. Now the problem is, prior to the iPhone 5, if you had an AT&T phone, it was only good on AT&T and T-Mobile. If you had a Sprint phone, it was only good on Sprint. If you had a Verizon phone, it was only good on Verizon, because they had different frequencies they used and different kinds. I can get geeky about it, but basically these carriers all had different ones. Starting with the 5 and the 5S, Apple started building the chip in to have more of those frequencies inside it, and so therefore it can cover more of the bands. Verizon, for instance, if you get a Verizon phone, from day one it's unlocked. You're still tied to your contract with Verizon, but you could always use it on AT&T, or if you went over to Europe, you could pop a SIM card in over there and use it. If you're in a contract, they are allowed to keep you locked on that phone until your contract is over. I'm going to talk about non-contract carriers in a minute. So again, you've heard about jailbreaking probably. That's different than unlocking. Jailbreaking is a whole different thing. Unlocking means it can be used on multiple carriers. Okay? Questions on that? It's
Just, you mentioned that thing about the Verizon again?
a Verizon 5 or 5S is locked. You can't go use it on a Sprint, but on Verizon it's locked. You're locked into your contract, but you could still be paying on your Verizon phone and put an AT&T chip in it and use AT&T or T-Mobile on it all you want, because the SIM part is unlocked. It's only on the Verizon that it's that way. Should I buy a used iPhone? No, unless it's from someone you know. Because you have to be careful because of this whole thing. I had somebody ask me, hey, my daughter lost her phone. She sees this one on eBay and Craigslist, and it says it's locked to the password, and oh, it's real easy to unlock if you want to get it. Well, no, it's not. And the other thing is, water damage cannot easily be seen. There are water damage water intrusion indicators in the phones that you can find, and there's a little white tabs in different places in the headphone jack and in the lightning connector or in the 30-pin connector, and you can get in there and see if they've turned bright orange, reddish orange, they've had water contact with them, and water has a tendency to corrode all the different surfaces in there. Unless you know the history of the phone, I wouldn't buy it. It's too much of a gamble, and if it looks like a great deal, well, it might be, but I'd pass it. So any questions on used phones like that? Go ahead. You don't, so what happens is you're selling it to Gazelle, but Gazelle also has phones on the eBay and website and stuff. They've checked them out pretty well. So reputable sellers, yes, or refurbished phones. In fact, it was real funny. I just saw Fry's in the Bay Area. Some of them were selling used iPhones for a pretty good price. So, but you know, you're always a little bit behind. The other thing you have to look out for is if a phone's 2 years old, the battery's going to be not very good because batteries wear out. They just get worn out from charge cycles. I find, because I use mine a lot, I find that after about a year, my battery's not quite up to snuff. So Apple can replace the battery. It's $79, I believe. But after 2 years, that battery is not very good at all. So take that into consideration because we all know the iPhone batteries don't last a long time. Maybe they're going to fix that. That's why I like these Mophie cases and things like that. Battery boosters and battery helpers help a lot. So I would just avoid it unless, like Gazelle or eBay or somebody that if it's somebody that's trusted. Apple Refurb Store, places like that, AT&T Refurb, and if they have some sort of warranty on them, a 90-day warranty or something, yeah, okay, but you know what? It's a 2-year investment for you. I think you have to look at it that way, and I'll show you some alternatives that might make that easier. This has come up recently is the lightning cable. You know, the new cable is a lightning cable. It's a 9-pin connector where we used to have the wide 30-pin connector. Well, there are some cheap copies out there from China. I used to think about going that way. I've had failures with a lot of them. And I'm also worried that it may damage my phone. But the big thing is, the actual adapter, the head of the adapter, has a computer chip in it because this lightning connector can do many things. You can hook a blood pressure machine up to this lightning connector. You're going to have all these huge medical devices that are going to be able to come up and hook to this connector. It'll connect to the car. So there's a special chip in there, and that's why they're expensive. So you don't have to buy it from Apple. My favorite place to buy cables and everything is monoprice.com, monoprice.com. And you want to look for a cable, even on Amazon, look for the words MFI, made for iOS device. And that means that cable is certified by Apple and will work, because you'll find you do an upgrade on this and your old cheap cable doesn't work. So it costs a little more. Doesn't have to be as expensive as the Apple one, but this lightning connector is going to be with us for a while. The old 30-pin connector was with us like 9 or 13 years, something like that. So the lightning connector is going to be around, and those of you that, I didn't like it at first, but it's nice. I don't have to worry about which way it goes. It just plugs in. Monoprice, all one word, a mono word, monoprice.com. If you need cables, wall mounts for TVs, all that, it's a really, really good price. And if you order it by 5 or 2 or 5 in the afternoon, you get it the next day. And reasonable shipping, not cheap, not free shipping. Actually, they were acquired by Amazon. So, all right. How much data do you use? Now, this is going to come up because we're going to talk about choosing plans, and that's really critical. Is what plan am I going to get? Well, you can go back and go to your carrier record and see how much data you've used, or if you go to if you're on AT&T or your Verizon or your Sprint or your T-Mobile, go in there and they'll look at the chart for you and they'll work with you and really see what it is. You can do it online and manage it, but you need to realistically figure about how much data you're using and think that you're probably going to use a little bit more in the future as more things happen. But that's going to be because you need to buy a bucket of data and you just need to know how big a bucket you need to buy. And that's how the plans work. So what does unlimited mean? Anybody on AT&T Unlimited still grandfathered in? Do you think you have unlimited data, that you can get the fast data as long as you want? Well, yes, you do, but it's not fast. If you're on the regular 4G, at 3 gigabytes, they'll slow you down to like the old edge speed. That's unlimited, but we're going to slow you down because you're a data hog. If you have LTE, which the iPhone 5 uses LTE and newer, they won't throttle you till you get to 5 gigabytes a month. Okay, Verizon. Anybody still on the unlimited Verizon plan? Yeah, because what they did with Verizon is, if you wanted to upgrade your phone, you had to go to a new plan if you wanted to subsidize your phone. So they kind of got you there. Anyone here on T-Mobile Unlimited? It's truly unlimited if you get the unlimited one. T-Mobile is what they call the uncarrier, and it's coming up. It really is coming strong. Sprint also says they have unlimited, but they do throttle after a certain amount. Throttling just means they're going to slow you down. So it's kind of the way it is, and it's to me it's false advertising, but everybody's doing the same one. But T-Mobile gives you everything. If you buy their best plan, I think T-Mobile is really the one up and coming. But they don't give you a 2-year contract and subsidize your phone. That brings up, do I want to pay for my phone up front? So if you go to T-Mobile, you can get onto some of their great plans, and they won't give you the phone for a discounted price, because they're not putting you in a contract. You're not locked in for 2 years. But what they will do is finance your phone for you and charge you nothing as far as interest or anything else, but the full price of the phone. Now, when you buy an iPhone 5S, most everybody bought it when it was new for $199 on a 2-year contract. But AT&T or Verizon paid Apple $650 for that phone. And that's why most of you paid about $50 in tax, because it was based on the true price of the phone. That's why this has been such a moneymaker for Apple. Well, if you go to T-Mobile, you'll pay $650 for the phone, but they can amortize it over time, or you can pay for it up front. but then you're not in a contract, and when you pay for it up front, the phone's unlocked. Go ahead.
I don't know if I made a mistake or not, I did it with misgivings, but I signed up with AT&T for their, what do they call it?
Their next plan?
Next plan, installment.
Yeah.
Is that a,
So the question is about the AT&T Next plan, and I'm going to go in here at the end and just show you some things that'll be up on the screen. What they're doing, T-Mobile calls it the jump, Verizon calls it, get whatever. But what it is you can pay more per month for your phone and upgrade after either 1 year or 18 months rather than waiting for 2 years. But realistically, the phone's not going to dramatically change in a year, but you get what you pay for. So only in the U.S. has there been big subsidies on the phones where you pay $199 for the phone, but realistically, you pay more over a 2-year period than if you bought the phone outright or bought it over payments because you're paying more for that plan. Believe me, AT&T and Verizon didn't do this the cheap way. It costs you more because you're in a higher plan that costs more money in the long run. In fact, up to $1,000 more when you over 2 years when you compare it to other plans. So it's a little different paradigm that we have to look at is pay up front, pay monthly, or commit to a contract, get it discounted, but then pay a lot more. So, and every carrier is different, and that's where I'm going to show you a website to go to in a minute that really makes a difference on this. So, in fact, speaking of the website, I'll pull this page up when we start doing the drawing and everything else. But again, this is recorded, and I'll try put the link at kenspencer.com where this is for you. But whistleout.com. It's one of the best ways where you can find different carriers because there's consumer cellular out there. They have a 5% AARP discount. There's, there's Straight Talk Mobile. There's all kinds of other carriers now. There's Cricket, which Cricket got bought by AT&T, and that's their low price model. So AT&T is competing against themselves, but they don't want you to know it because the AT&T and the Verizon are their premium brands. These other little carriers are what they call MVNOs, Mobile Virtual Network Operators. Virgin Mobile buys their time from Sprint, etc. All these other little carriers buy their wholesale data and wholesale minutes from these other carriers. International usage and fees, you have to be super careful here. Most Verizon phones won't work in Europe, but AT&T phone, you leave it on, you don't put it in airplane mode, you go over there, you might come back with over an $1,800 bill just because it periodically checked your email without you knowing it. Now, you can get international plans before you go and make it quite reasonable, but if you, and I'm pimping T-Mobile really hard here, if you get the best T-Mobile plan, you get international data and data usage for free. But realistically, if you're traveling, you turn your phone on airplane mode, which turns off all your radios, and then when you go to a Wi-Fi hotspot, you simply just turn Wi-Fi on, and then you'll be able to use the internet there, and you'll not get charged a cent, except if you get charged by the internet cafe. Here goes, I really am pimping T-Mobile here. What's the T-Mobile test drive? You can go to T-Mobile.com, and they're really making a push because they used to have pretty bad coverage. They've really improved their coverage, and they're really making a big push. And they'll send you if you give them a credit card, they'll put $699 on your credit card. They'll hold it. They won't charge it. They'll hold it on your credit card. They'll send you an iPhone 5S. You'll use it for a week. All the data you want, all the phone calls you want. Obviously, you don't transfer your own number. You're just testing it out. And after 7 days, you just go to a T-Mobile store, and you can give it back to them. No muss, no fuss, and see how their coverage is. Gives you a chance to try a 5S, etc. But if you do T-Mobile, they have aggressive pricing, and they have tons of different prices. And even on iPads, they did a deal with me on the iPad where I get 1 gigabyte of data up until the end of this year, and they finance the price. I like paying stuff up front. I'd rather do that, but it was how they threw in the extra data on it. So give them a try, give them a look, and I'm refreshed because they're really trying to do something. Sprint just came out with a new plan yesterday, and I don't know. It's and Sprint's coverage isn't quite as great. And I've been testing T-Mobile because I have this T-Mobile SIM in this, when I'm out and about. When I was down in Monterey, I've been testing it, and I'm getting equivalent signal strength to what I have on AT&T, which those of you on AT&T know that's not saying a lot, but it's been actually, I've had more bars on it for some of the other. That data stuff is improving a lot. As LTE comes out more and more, you're going to have better coverage. Had a question here?
Yeah, Ken, is unlimited also on T-Mobile applied to your iPad?
Yes and no. So you can get a separate plan for an iPad if you had the data on it. But if you buy the top T-Mobile plan that's completely unlimited for your phone, you pay $10 more, and you can do tethering. Like I can hook my laptop to it, I can hook the iPad to it, or even an iMac. I pay $10 extra, and I get up to 5 gigabytes of tethering. So the tethering is aside from that, because that would kill the network as if someone sat there and used it as their home internet. And you could chew through 5 gigabytes. That's 5 Netflix movies, so they don't want that to happen. So go ahead.
If you've got an iPad that's already AT&T, set up, can you use a T-Mobile?
So the question was, if you have an AT&T iPad, can you use other carriers? iPads are unlocked always if they have cellular in them. So yeah, in fact, here's the deal of the day. If you take that AT&T iPad that you're paying probably $15 a month to get 200 to 250 megabytes of data, if you march yourself down to a T-Mobile store, you might have to pay $10 to get the SIM card, but they might do it for free, and you'll get 200 megabytes of data for free. T-Mobile's trying. I mean, I did that on mine originally, and then I upgraded I get 1 gigabyte a day. You're paying $15 a month, 15 to 20 a month for 200 to 250 megabytes, where with T-Mobile you'll get 1 gigabyte for $10 a month, or just 200 megs for free. And that makes it a really nice thing, because if you're not wanting to use it all the time and you're on Wi-Fi most of the time, do that. And it's worth a try. Go ahead.
So you did convert over to T-Mobile on your phone?
I probably will. I'm looking. I'm so grandfathered in on the all-you-can-eat plan here, but I don't know. I'm real close. And the reason I say that is because I've only come close to using the 5 gig throttled limit once, and I was real close, and I never kicked in, so I'm not sure. And I have my mom on the family plan, and she's 90 years old. I don't want to change things on her too much, so.
You talk about the 1 gig, 5 gigs, etc. What time frame is that?
That's a month, per month. So the question was, how long is that? That's per month.
Thank you.
So the month's always not short enough for the amount or too long for the amount of data I have. So here was, we talked about this earlier, what iOS will it run, what's happening with iPads. We talked about that briefly. The iPad mini was refreshed. The iPad mini came out this October. Came out 2 years ago, the iPad mini, and then a year ago the iPad Retina, same design. We think there'll be a physical refresh of this, rumor is. The iPad Air came out a year ago. We don't think there'll be a big update to that. So the Air is 10.7 inches, I think, something like that. Well, no, you can't get a screen that small. I mean, it's physically the screen is bigger than that. No, the iPad Air is about as compact as it can get. And then can you run 1010 Yosemite? Because that's what's coming out as the new Yosemite, going to work with iOS 8, and all our devices are going to work really, really well together. So let's hope what's it say? Oh, when will all this happen, I think? When will we get the latest and greatest? September 9th, it's indicated that there's probably going to be a press event from Apple. Generally speaking, they'll announce it September 9th. A few days later, we'll be able to upgrade to iOS 8 for free. And 10 days after that, the phone should go on sale. Now, again, please take that with a grain of salt. It's getting more and more solid. Next meeting, Pete is going to speak about all the new iOS 8, all the new Yosemite features, because they'll be out and they'll be ready to do it. I wanted to prepare you because I think it's important that you don't get locked into a bad cell plan and have this happen to you, because you might be locked in for 2 years. So I'll quickly go to the whistle out page. Let's see. So here's one quick comparison from Buy My iPhone. But if you go to Whistle Out, what you do here is you actually configure what you want. So I've got like an AT&T plan here where it shows, and you can go down and see contract, non-contract. I mean, we could spend 5 hours going through everybody's thing on this. But if you just go to Whistle Out and figure out how much data you want, check the carriers out, and analyze them yourself. And you need to do the calculations is it to my advantage to have the phone subsidized and spend over time? Is it better to pay a little bit over time for the phone and not have it subsidized, or buy the phone up front? And remember, if you buy the phone up front, we look back at Gazelle, what was the value of this phone? But it was like $300. And you would have paid $199 unsubsidized. You would have paid $300 or $600 if you bought it outright. So a lot of these plans let you upgrade after a year or two. You pay about $5 more per month to do that. But there's just so many different ones here. I also pulled up Straight Talk, and I think I pulled up Consumer Cellular, if I'm not mistaken, because this is one that kind of gets out in the weeds. So Consumer Cellular is one, you save an extra 5% if you go with AARP. And this is one where they you have really, really inexpensive plans, but you buy the phone, let's see. So you're getting the phone for $150, but you're paying so much per month for that phone. Okay?
Is there a website that evaluates coverage?
Yeah, I'll have to find that, but it's really, because it's, you know what, a website and maps don't do it justice, because inside my house, it sucks. Outside my house, it's good. So it can't, Verizon overall has the best coverage, but there's a lot of spots where AT&T beats it. AT&T is getting better. T-Mobile's doing a lot better. And what will happen is, as we make this transition to LTE, these same towers will serve more people and serve a broader area, so you'll get better reception. Right now, the LTE is just for data, but very soon, the LTE will also carry your phone calls. So your best thing is to ask people in those areas what they like, what works. This question is, what has the best coverage? So go ahead.
Does the whistle out also talk about plans like multiple phones and plans?
Yes, you can add as many phones as you want. You pick the data and you go with it. I mean, to me, it's a godsend if you're trying to figure this out. And the problem is I used to do these slides with all the plans. I did this, 2 years ago. And I had all the plans out there, and there were 4 carriers, and there were 3 choices on each carrier, and that was it. But now, my God, there's so many choices. And that's not bad. I mean, choice is good, but it can be a bit overwhelming too. So, you can just keep going with what you got. On AT&T, as long as you continue, every indication is you'll still be able to be grandfathered in, whether you upgrade, whether you don't upgrade the phone or not. I didn't see any hands raised with Verizon that's still on the unlimited plan there. So, there's really not any unlimited there. And again, I just think T-Mobile is doing a great job. So, go ahead.
Was mentioning a couple of weeks ago with the upgrade about the iPhone being a hotspot.
Yeah.
Is there other devices that you may have?
Yeah, it can become so the idea was this can become a Wi-Fi hotspot, and if you're on AT&T Unlimited, you can't do it. If you're on other plans, you can. They won't allow it. But if you're on T-Mobile Unlimited, if you're on Verizon, you can do tethering. But tethering is a little bit different than the data plan, and there's different stipulations. So that's called tethering when you go to look at what's going on with the different plans. And that allows you to either hook your laptop to it. Up to 5 to 8 devices can be tethered to it.
Why is AT&T not doing
Well, if you're on the AT&T Unlimited, they won't allow it. And that makes sense. Because it's unlimited. Question back.
You can do it on mobile share.
Yeah, but that's not unlimited. You can do it on AT&T
It is unlimited.
on mobile share.
Mobile share is unlimited.
No.
It is on my plan.
No, it's not.
It says unlimited right on my bill.
Yeah.
For text messages maybe, but not for data.
Not for data, true.
Right, well, that's what we're talking about.
Sorry, for minutes or something.
Minutes are unlimited and text are unlimited. They're starting to throw out this unlimited minutes and unlimited text because nobody's talking on their phone anymore. And you don't. And the other thing is, you don't have to worry about texting too much. If you're texting from an iOS device to an iOS device and you use iMessage, it doesn't even use your text plan. All right. Any other questions before we get to the raffle? I'm a little late on this. I will point out, and I hate to. I've really pimped T-Mobile, and I think they're doing well. But here's a thing to think about: if somebody signs up for T-Mobile, and you go get somebody else to sign up for T-Mobile, the person signing up gets $25 gift card, and the person that referred them a $25 gift card. So if anybody needs to sign up for T-Mobile, but no, I mean, I really think it's good to work within yourselves. It's a one-time deal, but every time you get somebody on there, I mean, it's their way of doing referrals on that. But, you know, it's refreshing that they're trying hard to do it, to really be different than these big major carriers that are just soaking us. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a skeptic. So you sign up.
You're amongst many.
You sign up for T-Mobile, and somehow the prices are going just like everybody else. How hard would it be to get backstage to Verizon?
Great question. So she's a skeptic, and we all are, and we should be, because it's our hard-earned money we're talking about. And the question is if she goes with T-Mobile and it doesn't work out at all, can she go over to Verizon? Well, if you like the pain and punishment of the higher prices of Verizon, yes, you can. But in fact, with T-Mobile, there's no contract. It's month to month. Now, does that mean they're going to raise their price? No, not necessarily, because they're trying to capture this market share from the other people. And they're going to be aggressive with that. And to be honest, the other carriers, the trend is not higher price on cell phone service. The trend is dropping dramatically lower on that. So why would T-Mobile raise their price when they've got you? Why would they want you to leave? And I think that's the same with AT&T. AT&T hasn't increased their prices because the trend is down, down, down. I have a client that talks very little, doesn't need a lot of data. He's got an iPhone. He bought it outright. He's on Virgin Mobile, and it's $30 a month. Now, AT&T, most of you paying over $100 a month, I would imagine, for one phone. $30 on Virgin Mobile sounds pretty good. It uses the Sprint network. T-Mobile has a $30 plan too. Some of the other ones, some of the other carriers, the Cricket Mobile and things like that. The pressure is downward. In Europe and the other countries, the prices are a lot lower there. So that's where the trend is going. So yes, they could raise the price on you, but it's highly unlikely they would, because since you're not under contract, they know you might leave. Last question, I think. Here, go ahead.
I don't know if they're still doing it, but T-Mobile was buying out contracts.
Yeah, great point there. And gee, not like I want to sound like I'm pimping on T-Mobile, but if you have early termination fee, in other words, let's say you only have 1 year used of your AT&T contract, you have to pay an early termination fee prorated on how long you've had it. T-Mobile will pay you to get out of that contract and actually buy your phone, but then you have to buy another phone to do it. So it's kind of a seesaw, but they're really opening it up. And now the other things happen. Some of the other carriers are doing it back the other way. So the landscape's changing dramatically. All I can say is spend your time looking at it and doing. Oh, and by the way, my class, what is it, next Saturday? 2 Saturdays from now? The first Saturday, I'm going to be speaking more about plans, and I can guarantee you that 5 of these plans will have changed by then. So, back here?
Well, I thought the 5 you had to make a decision, Verizon or AT&T. Once you chose the carrier, then you're stuck.
Only, you're stuck by the fact that you may have signed a contract for 2 years.
I thought it was a SIM card or something.
Yeah, but now the phones really pretty much go with anywhere. Not all of them, but most of them.
They can change your mind.
Unless you're in a contract for 2 years.
What about the iPad?
iPad is unlocked. You can go wherever you want. An iPad, you can go on any carrier.
You can change your mind probably.
Unless you're under a contract. Can't stress that enough. You sign on a contract, and believe me, they're going to enforce it. Now, That's why you can buy out of your contract like a big league player, right? You can pay early termination fee. All right, so we've got our exciting auction tonight. Sorry, there's no phones here, but some other great stuff because we wouldn't know what phone to get after all this. We've got an iPod Nano. We've got a drop cam, but believe me. And TV HD. It reminds me of Teletubbies for some reason, but it's pretty cool. So I guess what should we do? Do it in order here?
Sure.
Can you draw?
Sure.
We'll let Tara draw.
Usually the shaker must be the
All right, so the winning ticket is
For the iPod Nano.
the
iPod Nano.
iPod Nano.
424225.
225.
424225.
All right, winner, chicken dinner.
Woo! All right. Get her name. Right here. And we'll want to get your name and then take a photo of you.
Oh, let's get the lights on too. 225. Wait, hang on here 1 second. Put your name on there.
Yeah, we always record. And then if you'll stay for a minute, we'll take a picture of the winners with the prizes. Thank you very much.
There we go. We'll get a photo of all three. Ready? Okay. This is for the drop cam. I bought a lot of tickets for this one.
The one that popped out. 424162. 424162.
All right.
An apple too.
Yeah.
Stay up here a second. Put your name on here for us. And then we'll take
If
a
you'll stay
picture.
up here for a minute, we'll get a picture of
All right, for the Tele HD. No, it's right here.
424049. 424049.
All right. Put your name on here for us, please.
Thank you for coming, everyone. Thank you. See you next time.
Oh, yeah. Grab your drop cam.
Grab your prize. We're going to have 3 winners. Sandwich.
One of these girls.
All right. Say three. Say snowball. 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Say snowball. Snowball. Got it. Thank you.
We need your names. We got names. We did. All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You know, I mean, to me, that's a neat thing. That's pretty aggressive. You know, they're putting their money where their mouth is.
I saw something on the internet about new batteries.
It must be true.
New batteries coming out. And like nothing you've ever seen. Paper thin, you can bend it to save cell phones, so you'll be able to sit on them. Battery scenario
Yes,
is
it was.
going to change the whole world.
And it's not out yet. And I mean, there's so much of that going on, but the other thing is the practicality of it. I mean, there's 2 companies that are very high on that cutting edge, Tesla and Apple. And believe me, they look at all that, and they both have enough money to fund that if they need it. So.
I know the batteries they have for, well, tools. Look at the,
They're just lithium ion.
Lithium ion.
Yeah, but they're not even as good as these are. These are lithium polymer.
Oh, okay.
These have higher potential than
But
that.
when you want to get a car battery size in lithium ion,
That Tesla has 7,000 of them.
$600 for one battery.
Oh no, the Tesla one. Yeah, but you don't need it for a car battery.
Yeah.
You're better off just replacing it. But the Tesla has 7,000 little batteries in it.
On the fishermen and the pro fishermen.
Oh yeah.
They out there running an electric motor all day long.
Well, see, lithium. But see, your charge discharge cycle has a lot to do with what you want from the batteries also.
Yeah.
And
Exciting though, it's going to happen.
oh yeah, I mean, I think it's great.
I'm already loving my lithium ion of my drill.
Oh, I have a little Next Tech from Sears 12 volt. That man, that thing it keeps its charge. It charges quick.